Hi, and welcome to this quick chat. I'm Lieutenant Frank Borelli, the editorial director for Officer Media Group, and I'm here today with our special guest, Ken Bass. Ken is a former Georgia State Trooper, and he's the CEO of Radarsign. And in case you don't know what Radarsign is, it's that thing you pass on the side of the road you've seen everywhere that tells you you're going too fast, and it serves a wonderful purpose. So, welcome, Ken. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Frank?
You know, I'm the guy that says every day is above dirt is a good day. I had a drill sergeant tell me better to look down at the daisies and up at the roots. So I'm happy to be here with you. And actually, for our listeners, you have a radar sign over your left shoulder in our view. From your experience as a state trooper, I mean, most of us feel like state troopers don't do anything but sit on the side of the road and try to tell all of us to slow down. Um, how are the speed signs? You can't be everywhere. How are the radar signs work as far as force multipliers or better presence on the roadways?
Well, the really good thing about the speed signs is they are a force multiplier for sure, but it's a very polite warning. As you're going by, it's not writing you a ticket, it's just flashing that, hey, this is your speed, you may need to slow down. Uh,
I like that friendly warning. It's the hey, we're not getting you the ticket yet.
Yeah. Well, I have seen over the years several law enforcement agencies, and my local one in particular, they would sit behind the signs, probably a couple hundred yards down, and in talking to a couple of them, they really liked the fact that, well, that was your warning.
I
Before they
mean, fair warning. If I pull you over a half mile past the sign that told you were speeding, you can hardly deny that you were speeding.
and that was what they would say is that most of the people were, yeah, you're right. Hmm.
So, do you think that does any good? I mean, we've all had the experience of pulling somebody over and they go, well, no, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't. Do you think that the radar signs help with community relations somehow, with fostering a better feeling of the officers doing more safety work than enforcement work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do think that. And the other wonderful part about that is when these signs, especially some of our portable ones, when a law enforcement agency, and we've all done this, and I'm sure in your career you've had where people have complained about speeding in their neighborhood, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going, "You're never in my neighborhood. I've got people speeding. Please do something about that." And when you put one of these signs in a neighborhood, you're saying, "Yeah, we care." The signs are out there, and the funny part about that is in my former law enforcement days, we would be sent into these neighborhoods because somebody complained. And invariably the ticket we would write to would be the person that complained. And I will admit sometimes that was fun. Uh, and but other times it didn't help any. Uh, but by having these polite warnings, it does help a lot. And the other interesting part is there have been so many studies on these things now. It's fascinating how effective they can be.
So you just said something about them putting them in the neighborhoods where people complain. Um, and yeah, we used to have a guy. I worked one jurisdiction where we would get letters from him, and I'm not being critical, but he felt that every traffic violation was a sin, and we weren't doing God's work because we weren't enforcing traffic laws and stop sign laws and all that. But if we put one of these signs out there, he'd be absolutely delighted. He almost saw it as a sermon. Do they serve a purpose where you see the habitual speedings, though, where it's not just a random neighborhood complaint, but where it's a real problem?
Yeah, there was a wonderful study done, and I can't remember, it may have been the University of Utah. One of the Midwest universities did a study, and they put a traffic sign, like a radar sign out, and they watched people's reactions to it. Then they put a law enforcement vehicle out there with an officer in it and recorded what the reaction to that was. And the study determined that the signs were just as effective as a law enforcement vehicle, and that both of them, what would happen is it would control speeding for about 1.5 miles after the incident of seeing it. This study also determined that a lot of the drivers out there were basically, I think the last line of the study was basically the average driver is just a chimpanzee. And, it was really fun to read that at the end, but the fact that these things were very effective in getting people to do something for 1.5 miles kind of led into how we market the signs of, these things are really very, very good in a neighborhood where people are walking, school zones, high traffic pedestrian areas, stuff like that. And then the portable signs, sometimes you have events like people, for some reason, they're putting up a neighborhood party or something. And if you find out about it, and you could put it each in and slow people down, make people aware. So they're very effective for that type of environment.
You mentioned earlier in neighborhoods, and I know it's been my experience where some communities didn't want a high law enforcement profile presence. They didn't want to see the cruisers coming through, or especially like campuses or medical campus. There was places where we didn't have jurisdiction, but they still expected us to do something about speeding. I feel like these signs would be perfect for those situations.
They are, and it's interesting you would mention that. We do have signs. We have quite a few signs in places like Google's campus, their work campus.
Right.
We've got them at coming into. In fact, the first sign we ever sold was to Michelin, where trucks were coming into one of their hubs to drop off product, and they wanted them to slow down as they were coming in to the location.
I think that's ironically funny as all get out that a company that makes tires has to slow people down. Sorry, you were
Well,
saying, sir.
yeah, actually, it was, we're really proud of that. That was sign number 1 20 years ago, and it's still at that location. I will admit that we have repaired it once or twice over the 20 years because it was a solar sign that had batteries in it, and batteries are just like car batteries, they got to be replaced occasionally. But they
Once or
have
twice
loved
over
that.
20 years, sir. That's impressive.
Yeah, and they love that sign, and they've always been a great referral customer for us for doing things like that. But we have. I will mention Tesla, for instance, has purchased almost 30 of these signs for some of the locations all over the United States. So as you were talking about, as a corporate campus and that type of thing, these things are very effective. And school zones, we love having them in school zones. And then coming in, we have quite a few cities that have them on each end of the as you're coming into the city to just get people to slow down for that type of environment.
Do the signs do specifically and only speed, or are there other messages you can build into them?
Some of the signs do have messages built into them. You've smiley faces and all of that. But in particular, they all show speeds. There was another study that was done, and this one I particularly like. I don't know if you've ever driven somewhere and you don't remember the drive. Um,
That happens more as I get older.
Yeah, you take off, you're going somewhere, and the next thing you know, you're there, and you really cannot, you don't remember a whole lot of the drive. Well, there's a trance, and I forget the exact word for that, but these signs, somehow the fact that they're flashing a speed and it relates back to your vehicle drops you out of that trance and back into being a non-distracted driver. Because like you're aware, I mean, the most dangerous driver out there is a distracted driver.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and especially in today's world of people where they've got their eyes on their phones, having something that communicates to them that says, hey, this is you out here and you're speeding, you better pay attention, is very important.
It's what we used to call driver hypnosis. The people that were going somewhere and it was a drive they did all the time, so they didn't have to think about it, and their mind would wander. And anything that would pull them out of that, I don't know that it was distraction, but lack of focus, just not paying attention, not being in the moment of the driving was really a strong tool. I like the idea of using the signs that way.
Yeah, they're very effective for that. The interesting thing is the way we got started as a company years ago is I had a neighbor whose child in our neighborhood had run out into the street, and a soccer mom was coming out around the curve, taking her kids to soccer and almost hit him. It was a very traumatic experience because for the mom of the child that was running out there and for the soccer mom, thinking she almost killed this toddler. And that was 20 years ago. And the funny thing about it, that toddler works in here now. He's, and I kid him about this all the time.
That's a great humanitarian story, though. I mean, what a wonderful link. What a good historical hook for the value of what your company does.
Yeah, and it's very satisfying to have a company where you feel like you're saving some lives.
Well, and I think it definitely could. Now, obviously, there's a better way to use the signs, and I'm going to say worse ways, but ways that aren't as effective. Can you recommend if an agency's coming to you, and we're not talking about what I call the NFL cities, Detroit, Chicago, New York, all the big places. I'm talking about your average everyday police department, which has right now about 50 cops. We'll call it whatever, downtown Maryland. What's the best strategy for them as they become a customer and they start putting these signs out? Do you have a recommendation that you can discuss?
Yeah, really do. The most effective thing is if you're going to put this sign up, it needs to have the speed limit sign on the same pole.
Okay, that makes sense.
The effectiveness of the sign is decreased by as much as 80% because when your driver's distracted, they don't even know what the speed limit is.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing a sign that's flashing the speed, if it doesn't relate to them that, oh yeah, the speed limit is X, they're not going to slow down. We've watched it many times.
That's easy to see. I mean, if I'm driving along and I see a sign blinking my speed and I don't know what the speed limit is, I'm gonna be like, that's nice. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep on going, right? But if it says the speed limit's 35 and that blinking number says 44, at least I know I've been made aware I'm going my 9 over.
Yep.
Which
And
I don't mean to imply is good. I'm just using it as an example.
Well, and that's the biggest thing that we recommend first off. The other thing is, in a small town, when you have limited law enforcement, the portable signs really are force multipliers for you because everybody wants some type of enforcement in their neighborhood. And
Right.
when you have signs, we have many cities that actually rotate them around. Comes to mind, the city of Roswell, Georgia has a set schedule where they rotate these signs all around their community, mainly because they can't afford as many as they would like to have. And so they try to use them effectively by sharing them around the community.
Now, does it matter? I know with actual enforcement where you're issuing summons and so forth, I know that predictability may not be bad, may not be good. With the radar sign, does it matter if it's a fixed schedule or if it's more erratic?
No, it really doesn't matter. I will say though, the moment the sign comes down, driver habits return to normal. If you've got 70% of your people are speeding and you put a sign up, you're going to get 80% of those 70 are going to slow down and go the speed limit, or at least there's a bell curve, as everything is a bell curve, that
Right.
shows that, 80% of the people are gonna slow down, and that curve is gonna go down as to how far they go down. There will be a percentage of them that will go to the speed limit. There will be a percentage of them that are 15 miles over the speed limit that will go down to 5 miles over the speed limit.
Right.
And any reduction, of course, as you're aware, in speed, is a reduction in, the opportunity for a fatal accident.
Yeah, and for the people watching this, one of the numbers I'll never forget is that how fast you're going in feet per second is a 1.5 times factor of your speed. So if you're going 30 miles an hour, you're going 45 feet per second. Well, if they slow down, that gives them more reaction time. It gives them more space to stop in ratio to the speed, and it really can save not only the driver's life but all the people, the people that are back and forth in the neighborhoods.
And that's true. And that speed, as you're talking about, that velocity, if they were to hit someone, the lower that velocity, the higher the odds that that person's going to survive.
I hate to think about it. I know I wrote my share of pedestrians struck, but yeah, the slower the car is going, the better off we are.
Yeah, and myself as well. There's nothing worse than a pedestrian fatal accident. It's
Yeah.
always ugly.
I hate to end this on that note, but it is a very sobering thought and does show the value of having the signs out and making people aware of how fast they're going and what the speed is in that moment at that location. So I want to thank you very much, Ken. As a CEO of Radarsign, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we appreciate everything that Officer Magazine is doing. It's a fascinating read, even though I am out of the law enforcement business. I can't wait to get this thing every month and go through it and see what's happening in the world, and what the latest and greatest technologies are.
I appreciate hearing that. As a guy who said, I'm a retired officer and I'm still an instructor, I like to try to keep serving the community as best I can. And this is now the tool I have available to do it. But thank you again, sir.
Thank you, and have a very wonderful rest of your day.
You too.